Hello guys, it's Remus here and Aphelios was just revealed finally. So, like I said in my speculations video that everyone disliked because I put abilities speculations in the title and people don't read titles or don't know what speculations means, I said that you'll probably be able to swap through multiple weapons like Jace but not 2 and more. So I was right, he is able to swap to 5 freaking weapons. This is going to be the most complicated champion that was ever released in this game, I think. And the champion spotlight will probably take me like 1 hour to explain everything he can do. So, you can call him Call of Duty because he has weapons that he can carry in the main hand and the offhand, and he has ammo as well. So, his kit is pretty interesting. Like I said, he has guns, basic attacks and ammo. So, he cycles through 5 weapons, each with its own basic attack. He attacks with his main weapon, but always carries an offhand weapon that can be swapped if you W. So, if you have a main weapon, and you also carry one in the offhand that you choose, you press W, you swap your main hand to the offhand. He cannot pick and choose which 2 weapons he equips at any given time. His weapons have 50 ammo, so you have a limited amount of auto attacks you can do with each, and when a weapon runs out, you get to the next one in line. And then empty weapons go to the end of the line to recharge, so you cannot choose which ones you have, but you cycle through all 5 of them until you run out of ammo. Now this is going to be insane, because you won't be able to really pick what you want to use, so you'll have to nicely hold on your ammo if you have a really good weapon that you want to keep for a team fight, or you want to run quickly in minions and slaughter them quickly with auto attacks to run out of ammo on one that maybe you don't want to use. So this is going to be pretty intense. So he can swap between his main hand and offhand, and weapon order changes throughout the game based on which weapon you use first. So you swap from your main hand to the offhand, that main weapon goes to the back of the line, and then when he's out of ammo, the next one in line comes and takes its place. And his abilities, he doesn't have an E, he only has 3 buttons, Q, W and R. The W swaps between his main hand and offhand, leaving him with 2 actual abilities. So he only has 2 abilities for each weapon, but he doesn't have an actual ultimate, or I know, the R is sort of an ultimate for each weapon, and also the Q, and the W just swaps your 2 weapons that you have in your main and offhand. So he kind of only has 2 abilities for each of his 5 weapons, so he has sort of 10 abilities, 10 actual abilities for his weapons. So each of his weapons has its own Q ability when equipped as the main hand weapon. Each Q applies bonus attacks and effects based on his offhand weapon, so it also matters what you have in your offhand. And all 5 Qs cost mana and ammo, and each has its own cooldown. You can Q, switch guns, then immediately use the other Q, so it doesn't have a shared cooldown. You can swap your weapons and then use the Q in your offhand as soon as you already use the Q in your main hand weapon. God, this is going to be a complicated champion. He automatically learns Q at level 2 and is slowly becoming stronger over the course of the game. And his ultimate, Moonlight Vigil, sends forward a moon bomb that explodes on the first enemy hit, damaging nearby enemies. Then Aphelios follows up with enchanted basic attacks from his main hand weapon against all enemies caught in the explosion. And he automatically learns this at level 6, and automatically levels it up at 11 and 16. And since he automatically learns his Q and R, he puts his level up points into stats, so he levels up and gains attack damage, attack speed and bonus armor penetration. Now we're going to go through all 5 weapons and tell you about each of them and what their abilities are, but before we begin, this video is also sponsored by eAdvantage. eAdvantage is a cheaper alternative to energy drinks in the form of healthy approved pills that give you in real life buffs, making you play better, focus easier, increase your reaction times, and give you a 2% damage boost in every game you play. I use them when I have long days of editing until late at night, or when I want to grind ranked, or play WoW all day, and they really make me feel awesome. And like I said, my favorite effect is that they make me focus on details and see better. Check the link in the description and use my code for a 13% discount. Alright, let's get to his 5 weapons. So the first one is Calibrum, the rifle. Now this is a poke harass weapon and its basic attacks have an extra range. And when abilities deal damage with Calibrum, they mark enemies hit. Aphelios can right click mark enemies anywhere on the map to follow up with a basic attack from his offhand weapon. So anywhere on the map, so say you hit Rise and he teleports away, or you hit someone that recalls and gets to base, you can right click them and shoot them from your lane to their base and kill them there if they're super low and they didn't regenerate yet. This attack detonates other nearby marks for bonus damage against the marked targets. The Q of this ability, Calibrum, is Moonshot, and he fires a skill shot that damages the first unit hit and marks them. like I said, the marked targets explode. And his other thing is that Moonlight's Vigil follows up the attack marked all enemies hit. These marks deal higher damage when consumed. His next one, this one looks amazing, Severum, the Sight Pistol. This is a sustain weapon that heals Aphelios for a portion of the damage it deals. Overhealing from Severum is converted into a small shield. The Q of this one is that he gains movement speed and rapidly fires your main weapon and offhand weapon at the nearest enemy, prioritizing champions, so this is an automatic one, not a skill shot. Onslaught shoots behave like basic attacks but deals reduced damage. And the effect is that he grants a flat heal. His next one is Gravitum, the Cannon. This one is an utility weapon that applies a decaying slow to enemies. And the Q of this one is Eclipse. Damage and root all enemies on the map affected by Gravitum's slow. Eclipse doesn't use Aphelios' offhand weapon. And the effect is that he follows up the attacks, apply a massively increased slow. Next one is Infernum, the Flamethrower. Jesus, this guy has a really cool arsenal of weapons. You should thank Aluna for giving him all this. So this is an AoE wave clear ability weapon. It deals increased damage and ability damage and it creates a damage cone behind enemies hit. So it's sort of a shotgun like Graves. And the Q of this one is that it shoots a wave of flame. Of blue flame, damaging enemies. Then basic attacks all enemies hit with your offhand weapon. This is going to be insane. So you use an AoE, imagine you hit a shit ton of enemies in a team fight. It just says enemies, so maybe works on minions as well. You shoot a huge wave of minions and then bam, he comes like McCree and shoots each of them with a basic attack with the offhand. That's gonna be insane. Then the effect of this one is that he follows up the attack, create damaging circles around enemies hit instead of damaging cones behind them. Then we have the Chakram Crescendum. This one is a closed range DPS weapon, so this one, it's a melee weapon, like I said as well in my speculations that probably he's going to have something that's melee too. That behaves like a boomerang. He basic attacks with this, he can't attack again until it returns to him, so sort of like severe skew, but you can recast it when it comes back to your hand. But his attacks reset when it does. Attack speed increases the travel speed of this thing, and the closer Aphelios is to his target, the less distance it has to travel, of course. And the faster Aphelios can attack. When abilities or their follow-up attacks deal damage with this, they create temporary copies of it for each enemy hit that increase the strength of this basic attack. The Q of this one is Sentry. He deploys a turret. Man, this guy has a lot of stuff. He deploys a turret that shoots the nearby target with his offhand weapon. And the effect is that if Moonlight Vigil hits fewer than 3 enemies, its follow-up attacks still increase the damage of Crescendum's basic attacks as if your 3 enemies were hit. Now he's going to have a custom UI since he doesn't really have the usual ability lines. So this is how his HUD will look like. The passive is explaining the weapon and the level ups. The tool is as long as this article. God damn it. You're going to open that in game, you're gonna have a book to read. Aphelios' main weapon and its remaining ammo, you can also see it there next to the Q. And you can also see Alun there at 1. And then the Q and then the W. And the ultimate that levels up itself. Alright, well, he's going to be added on the PvE really soon, and I'm going to be very afraid to make a champion spotlight for him because it's probably going to take me like 10 hours and it will end up to be an hour long video, but I think he's really interesting. It's definitely unique and sort of what I expected from my speculations, that people don't know what speculations mean, so they dislike it. But I was pretty much expecting something like this, to have a bunch of weapons, since they said he has a huge arsenal of weapons and sacrifice and all that, and Alun brings him his weapons. But man, it's going to be insane to test out so many abilities. Imagine so many abilities and offhand variations, and oh man, it's gonna be really interesting. Alright, and we also have this insight where they talk a bit more about how they designed him. That's really interesting. I recommend to you to check it out a little bit and tell me what you think about this guy. Apparently we're also going to get a Lux visual upgrade for her abilities, and probably 1000 skins as well if that leak is correct, but I will see you later on, probably with the spotlight for Aphelios. And thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.